Alrighty, back to the lore dump. Today is the topic I've been trying my damnedest to write a script for about a month. Now, the Age of Apostasy is commonly split between two major events. The Reign of Blood, which is what I'll be covering in this video, and the Plague of Unbelief, which I'll cover next time. Anyway, on to the lore. The Age of Apostasy was a major period of civil war within the Imperium of Man due to the tug-of-war for power between the Administratum, or just the government, and the Adeptus Ministorum, also known as the Ecclesiarchy, also known as the state religion of the Imperium of Man. Now to give a tad bit of background info, the Ecclesiarchy started out as an unofficial religion in the Imperium called the Imperial Cult, mainly because the Emperor of Man was about as atheistic as one could possibly be. I mean, come on, the guy torched a whole entire planet for worshipping him as a god. So the fact that any religion popped up during this time at all is a bit of a conundrum to think about. After the Emperor was mortally wounded and placed upon his golden throne, the slow growth of the Imperial Cult began. Fast forward quite extensively to the full-fledged rise of the Adeptus Ministorum within the Imperium. The leaders of the Ecclesiarchy began to make power plays against the Administratum by placing monasteries and similar religious iconography on loyal Imperial worlds to convert the residences in an attempt to gain more influence than the Administratum even had. Obviously, the Administratum wasn't a fan of the idea, and pushed back, and this back and forth went on for a really long fucking time before the ultimate power play was made by a High Lord of Terra known as Goj Vandire, who placed a figurehead in charge of the Ecclesiarchy, who he made do bad things as Ecclesiarch. The reason for this was so when Vandire stormed into the Ecclesiarchy's domain, declared him unfit to speak the good news, shot him in the fucking head, and declared himself the new Ecclesiarch. Nobody would complain. So now that Vandire controlled the entirety of the Imperium himself, well, I've heard the term absolute power corrupts absolutely. Well, yeah, that's about how things went down with good old Vandire. Seriously, Joseph Stalin would have taken a couple pages out of this guy's fucking book. During Vandire's rule, he carried out mass genocides like they were going out of style. If he felt like killing you, he would, and seldomly he would make it quick. The guy was a major sadist. Think Ramsay Bolton from Game of Thrones and multiply him by 100. Hell, the one oddly cool thing the guy did was recruit the daughters of the Emperor to be his personal guard, and convince them he was a prophet of the Emperor. Speaking of the daughters of the Emperor, who Vandire renamed to the brides of the Emperor, they were the precursors to the Sisters of Battle, who are essentially the closest we'll get to female space marines. And yes, there is no such thing as a greater waifu than a Sister of Battle. Fight me! Anyway, no king rules forever, so obviously a rebellion of sorts formed against him, led by a young preacher, Sebastian Thor, and his Confederation of Light. Don't worry, it's not as goody two-shoes as it sounds. Amongst the forces that assaulted Terra to overthrow Vandire were the Adeptus Astartes, because he pissed them off, and they fought hard to reach Vandire. The Space Marines squared off with the brides of the Emperor and found themselves not evenly matched, but struggling against them. During the fighting, however, the Adeptus Custodes, basically 9-foot Astartes if they were even more genetically refined, made essentially immortal by the Emperor himself, and were tasked with the job of eternally watching over the Emperor, emerged from the Emperor's side to find out what was going on in the rest of the Imperial Palace. The Custodians brought the matriarch of the brides of the Emperor, Alicia Dominica, plus 5 of her own bodyguard, to the Emperor himself, to convince them that they were fighting for the wrong side. What occurred between her and the Emperor is completely unknown, but when she emerged from his side, she was pissed. She went straight to Vandire and made one of the most badass declarations I have ever read or heard. That being said, I cannot do it justice, but I'll put it on screen here.
You have committed the ultimate heresy! Not only have you turned your back on the Emperor and stepped from his light, you have profaned his name and almost destroyed everything he has striven to build. You have perverted and twisted the path he has laid for mankind to tread. As your own decrees have stated, there can be no mercy for such a criminal. I renounce your lordship. You walk in the darkness and cannot be allowed to live. Your sentence has been long overdue, and now it is time for you to die.
And then drew her sword. Van Dyer's response to this was, well, to be honest, pretty funny considering the situation. He said,
I don't have time to die. I'm too busy.
And Alicia responded to this by slicing Van Dyer's head clean off, thus ending the Reign of Blood and the first half of the Age of Apostasy. God damn it, that took forever to put pen to paper for, and I'm only half fucking done!